Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Shiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Preshu Abhareshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naisteke. Today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 1, Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu, text 48. Daksha begot 16 very beautiful daughters with lotus-like eyes in his wife Prasuti. Of these 16 daughters, 13 were given in marriage to Dharma, and one daughter was given to Agni, text 49 through 52. One of the remaining 2 daughters was given in charity to the Pitraloka, where she resides very amicably, and the other was given to Lord Shiva, who is the deliverer of sinful persons from material entanglement. The names of the 13 daughters of Daksha who were given to Dharma are Shraddha, Maitri, Daya, Santi, Tushti, Pushti, Kriya, Unati, Buddhi, Meda, Titiksha, Hiri, and Murti. These 13 daughters produced the following sons. Shraddha gave birth to Subha, Maitri produced Prasada, Daya gave birth to Abaya, Santi gave birth to Sukha, Tushti gave birth to Muda, Pushti gave birth to Smaya, Kriya gave birth to Yoga, Unati gave birth to Darpa, Buddhi gave birth to Artha, Medha gave birth to Smriti, Titiksha gave birth to Shrima, and Hiri gave birth to Prasraya. Murti, a reservoir of all respectable qualities, give birth to Sri Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 53. On the occasion of the appearance of Narayana, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus in all directions the air, the rivers, and the mountains became pleasant. Text 54-55. In the heavenly planets, bands began to play, and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven, known as the Gandharvas and Kinnaras, sang. The beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets danced. And in this way, at the time of the appearance of Narayana, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers. Text 56. The demigods said, "Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the transcendental personality of Godhead, who created as his external energy this cosmic manifestation, which is situated in him as the air and the clouds are situated in space, and who has now appeared in the form of Narayana Rishi in the house of Dharma." Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Madhuri. Hare Krishna. Yeah, when you're ready, you can start to Vamsi Prabhuji.
Sure. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just quickly offer prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Vatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Hare Krishna. Um, so in these set of verses, what we have been studying in the fourth canto of the first chapter describes about Srila Sukadeva Goswami and in turn Maitreya Rishi is describing the lineage of the Manu. So, so all the descriptions of how the Manus and the Prajapatis were actually populating this universe, and it started with Atri Muni, he having darshan with the three principal guna avatars of this universe, and from there on the creation starts. And then we see Daksha and many other Prajapatis are populating this universe. And in these set of verses, what we are seeing is, in Srimad Bhagavatam, whenever there is a description of population or creation, it always somehow or the other connects with the Supreme Lord, because that is a whole and sole motto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is that somehow or the other we get attracted to Krishna in any of his principal forms. Of course, the main aim of Srimad Bhagavatam is not just the incarnations, but ultimately, by the mercy of Guru and the previous acharyas, we get attracted to the Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, who is the Ashraya Vigraha, Ashraya Vigraha in the 10th canto. So we have to gradually go. And then now in the 4th canto, in the first chapter, now in the 56th verse, Sri Naranarayan Rishi, who's a plenary incarnation of Krishna, appears. So like we saw Daksha, who's a partial incarnation, how we saw Daksha was actually born, who was a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva when Atri Muni prayed, because he prayed, I wanted a son like God, but he was not specific. So he got son from each of the, with similar qualities from each of the Guna avatars. And Daksha was a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva. And we hear a lot about Daksha, Prajapati. He's a Prajapati who's serving Krishna in this creation. And from one of his daughters, Murti, is from whom Sri Naranarayan Rishi appears. So Krishna can appear any way he wants. He's Swarat. We saw in the second verse or the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, the supreme absolute truth is defined as Abhigya and Swarat. He's supremely independent. He can appear from a mortal human being, like how we are seeing here. He can appear from a pillar, like Sri Narsingadev. He can appear any way he wants. And in 56, what we are seeing today is the demigods, as soon as they see the Supreme Lord appear in the form of Naranarayan Rishi, Krishna appears in different forms to establish certain principles. And when he appears as Sri Narayana Rishi, he is actually exhibiting his supreme opulence of one of the 6 opulence of renunciation. And because he looked, Krishna is not like an ordinary person. Whenever Krishna appears, everything becomes auspicious. That is what Bhagavatam is explaining here. In text 53, it is mentioning that everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus in all directions the air and the rivers, mountains became pleasant. So if somebody says that somebody is an incarnation of God, we have to not only test the person, but we should also see through the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam. His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhuji, he often says, when we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, it is not just a theoretical exercise. Because when we study Srimad Bhagavatam carefully through the purports of Srila Prabhupada, we have to see the world through the eyes of Srimad Bhagavatam. At least that's what we need to strive for. And here it is mentioned that entire world became tranquil. And that is what the world becomes when Krishna appears in any of his forms. So if somebody says that he or she is an incarnation of God, do we really see all these symptoms appearing across us? Not really, right? In fact, it is more chaotic in today's world. In text 56, the demigods are starting to offer prayers, and that is what we are going to focus our uh, discussion today. That they are offering prayers onto Sri Naranarayan Rishi, who is Krishna himself, who created his external energy, this through his external energy, this cosmic manifestation, and who is situated in him as the air clouds are situated in space. So now Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that the universal form of Krishna is the cosmic manifestation, which is an exhibition of his external energy. So I'll be taking help of Srila Prabhupada's purports today. In the Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada explains that there are three energies of Krishna, principal three energies. The first is called Antaranga Shakti, which is the internal potency of Krishna. Second is called that Tatastha Shakti, which is the marginal potency. And the third is called Bahiranga Shakti, which is called the external potency of Krishna. The three principal energies. And through this external potency, through this Bahiranga Shakti, is what Krishna actually creates through his various different incarnations and avatars and maintains this universe. And this universal form is also part of the external energy of Krishna. And the marginal potency of the Tatastha Shakti is the Jiva, the living entities like us, right? And Antaranga Shakti is the internal potency, where all the eternally liberated souls are eternally serving Krishna in different Vaikuntha planets and Golok Vrindavan. It is Antaranga Shakti. And the universal form, which is an exhibition of the external energy, Srila Prabhupada is saying. And Srila Prabhupada is giving example of the innumerable varieties of planets and also the air, which is there in the space. And in the air, there are variously colored clouds, and sometimes we see airplanes running from one place to another. Thus, the entire cosmic manifestation was full of variety. But actually, that variety is a manifestation of the external energy of Krishna. And that energy is situated in him. So everything is an emanation from Krishna. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, right? Aham sarvasya prabhava matta sarvam pravartate. Everything, he is the supreme cause of all causes. Iti matva bhajante mam. After knowing this, if one worships Krishna, bhuta bhava samanvita, then that person will actually worship Krishna with some bhav, with some feeling. Because if you really don't know the personality of Krishna, and if you directly jump to the 10th canto of trying to understand Krishna's intimate pastimes with his devotees, we will not appreciate. We will think Krishna is some kind of a normal human being like us. That is why Krishna says, Avajananti mam muda manusham tanum ashrita. Because if you don't understand the greatness of Krishna, then how will we know how Krishna will not, in fact, give us the understanding when we directly jump to the 10th canto of trying to understand about his pastimes. Right? That is why Krishna himself says, Matta smritir jnanam apohanam, that he gives the remembrance, forgetfulness to a person. So even if I forcefully try to study or hear about Krishna's intimate pastimes, Krishna will not give the understanding or the ability to assimilate whatever we are hearing or we are studying. We are trying to cheat Krishna. Ultimately, we are cheating ourselves. So we need to understand all these things. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam itself states that we should not think, oh, this universal form and all this thing is not needed. I only like Leela. Srila Sukadeva Goswami says, if we properly understand all these tattva of different energies of Krishna, then actual devotion takes place. So we cannot deny the words of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should try to understand through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada all these things as much as possible. So even in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna exhibits the universal form to Arjuna, right? When Arjuna wanted Krishna to show the universal form, Krishna then gave Arjuna the divine eyes to see the universal form. That's another thing, right? We cannot see the universal form just, oh, I want to see, so let me see. So whatever we are seeing around, like Prabhupada explained in today's purport, it is just an external manifestation. There is full of variety. There is definitely variety in this universe. But we should not think that Just like how few people think, Prabhupada is writing, that the impersonal conception think that these varieties are all false. Because this universe is not permanent, so it is false. But the Vaishnava way of understanding, Prabhupada writes in other purports, that the universe is temporary. There is definitely variety because the variety is created by Krishna's energy. If Krishna is real, how the variety can be not real? It is real. It is a fact. But it is temporary. It is not a permanent place for us. That is the Vaishnava way of understanding. We don't reject this world. Because if you are rejecting this world, that is Markata Falgu Vairagya. It is not, it is a dry renunciation. A pure devotee like Prabhupada and many of the acharyas, they see everything around this world in connection with Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is stated, Stavara Jangama deke na deke taramoti sarvatra haya nija ishta deva spurti. They see every living and non-living entity in connection with Krishna. That is how Prabhupada saw. Right? So here when Arjuna is asking Krishna to show the universal form, it is not for Arjuna to see the universal form of Krishna, that he wants to see the opulence of Krishna, because Arjuna is already a pure devotee of Krishna. Prabhupada writes that. He needn't have to see the universal form, but he showed the universal form. He requested Krishna to show the universal form so that people down the ages will really know who Krishna is. He is not an ordinary personality like us. That is why Srila Prabhupada writes in this purport of Bhagavad Gita, a pure devotee does not like to see Krishna in any form except his form with two hands. A devotee must see his universal form by his grace, not with the mind but with spiritual eyes. That is why Krishna gave the divine vision to Arjuna and as well as some devatas in some heavenly planets, so that people down the line in different times will really understand that this universal form is not some kind of concoction. To see the universal form of Krishna, Arjuna is told not to change his mind but his vision. The universal form of Krishna is not very important. That will be clear in subsequent verses. Yet Arjuna, because he wanted to see it, the Lord gives him particular vision required to see that universal form. Why Prabhupada has to write this? Because in the subsequent verses in the Bhagavad Gita in the 11th chapter, we'll see that Arjuna becomes bewildered because the universal form has everything. All the devatas and thousands of hands, thousands of legs with thousands of tongue. So many demigods are who are able to see the universal form. They are worshipping the universal form, and it's so ghastly because Arjuna, being a pure devotee, he has seen Krishna face to face in the two-handed form. He immediately says Krishna. He realizes now Krishna's position. Of course, when a pure devotee doesn't, he forgets Krishna's position. That's how they have that relationship. But then to teach us, he is showing that Krishna is not an ordinary person. And then finally he prays to Krishna, Krishna, please, I cannot stand this vision anymore. Please come back to your original form. Then Krishna comes back to his original form. That is why Srila Prabhupada is writing the universal form of Krishna is not very important for whom? For the devotees of Krishna. But why then, someone may ask, why Krishna has to show the universal form? Prabhupada writes in some purports, but there will be certain living entities who are not attracted to the two-handed or the four-handed form of Krishna, who do not believe that Krishna exists eternally in the spiritual world, who do not believe that Krishna is personally present in the temple in the form of Archa Vigraha. They think it's some kind of stone. For such people, Krishna exhibits the universal form, who cannot have this perception. Why? Because they don't have bhakti. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyachashmi tatvatah, Krishna says. Right? We see this similar example. And then I'll come to that example later. And now Srila Prabhupada in the remaining purport, Prabhupada writes, this indicates that the varieties are a manifestation of energy of Krishna. Thus, because the energy is non-different from Krishna, the varieties are also factual, which is what we discussed, right? The material varieties are also factual. It is not false. Everything is there. That is why we are getting bewildered. As soon as we forget Krishna, we are immediately captured by Maya. Immediately. There is no in-between state. Because this material energy is Krishna's energy. It's so powerful, so intimidating. As soon as we are disconnected from Krishna, immediately his energy captures us. The material varieties may be temporary, but they are not false. They are a reflection of spiritual varieties. There are varieties, announces the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared as Naranarayan Rishi and who is the origin of all varieties of material nature. Krishna is the origin of all varieties of material nature. Right? And Prabhupada is saying all the varieties that we see within this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Krishna will explain in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, right? Udvamulam adashakam ashwattam prahuravyayam. That this material world is a reflection of a banyan tree. Now, what the reflection we see? There is actually an original that is there within the spiritual world. And we will see that Krishna, he is, though our acharyas have come to give the highest access for all of us who are really wanting that. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he came 500 years ago, who is Krishna himself, when he met different devotees, wherever he traveled, he reciprocated according to the feeling or the bhav of the devotee. Of course, he tried to inspire them to get attracted to Krishna, because he didn't only to very, very, very intimate devotees, he showed himself his opulence as Krishna. But if some other devotee is inclined to some other form of Krishna, because there is variety in the spiritual world, we should not become fanatic. Oh, it is only Krishna, no one else. No. Then otherwise, why different incarnations are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam? When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling to South India, he arrives at a place called Kamakoshti in southern Mathura. It is called southern Mathura, which is actually called Madurai in today's terms. And there, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu meets a Brahmana. And the Brahmana who met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu invited the Lord to his home. This Brahmana was a great devotee and authority on Lord Sri Ramachandra. He was always detached from material activities. After bathing in the river Kritamala, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the Brahmana's house to take lunch, but he saw the food was unprepared because the Brahmana had not cooked it. Seeing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear sir, please tell me, why have you not cooked? It is already noon." The Brahmana replied, "My dear Lord, we are living in the forest. For the time being, we cannot get all the ingredients for cooking. When Lakshmana brings all the vegetables, fruits and roots from the forest, Sita will do the necessary cooking." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied to hear about the Brahmana's method of worship. Finally, the Brahmana hastily made the arrangements for cooking. You see the devotion of this Brahmana. The Srila Prabhupada often quotes this, or Acharyas also often quote this, that the purpose of doing all the activities in bhakti, all the rules and regulations, all the chanting, all the deity worship, all the cooking bhoga, all the offerings that we do in the form of arati in the temple and everything, is to remember Krishna and never forget him. If these two are the essential principles for all the things that we do in bhakti, and you see this Brahmana is there in the pastime of Sri Ramachandra. He's saying he is there in the pastime with the Lord in the forest of Dandakaranya. And he's saying, Lord Lakshman, he has not brought anything for us to cook. Then Mother Sita will cook. That is why Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. Finally, the Brahmana hastily made arrangements for cooking. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his lunch at about 3 o'clock, but the Brahmana, being very sorrowful, fasted. While the Brahmana was fasting, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, "Why are you fasting? Why are you so unhappy? Why are you so worried?" The Brahmana replied, "I have no reason to live. I shall give up my life by entering either fire or water." My dear sir, Mother Sita is the mother of the universe and the supreme goddess of fortune. She has been touched by the demon Ravana, and I am troubled upon hearing this news. Sir, due to my unhappiness, I cannot continue living. Although my body is burning, my life is not living. Perfection of spiritual life, right? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed in the Shikshashtakam verse, Yugayitam nimishena chakshusham pravrishayitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. Mahaprabhu is teaching, and this Brahmana is exhibiting those symptoms that he cannot live. He is actually living in the past time. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "Please do not think this way any longer. You are a learned Pandit. Why don't you consider this? Why don't you consider the case?" Mahaprabhu continued, "Sita Devi, the dearmost wife of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra, certainly has a spiritual form of bliss. No one can see her with material eyes, for no materialist has such power. To say nothing of touching Mother Sita, a person with material senses cannot even see her. Even Ravana, when Ravana kidnapped her, he kidnapped only her material illusory form." Mahaprabhu is revealing to the Brahmana that Mother Sita, if Krishna is all spiritual, how is internal energy expansion, pleasure potency, Sita Devi, Mother Sita Devi, can actually be material form? She is also completely spiritual. And if we cannot see Krishna with this material eyes, how can I perceive his internal energy? We cannot. So Mahaprabhu is telling that Ravana did not kidnap Sita. Why are you worrying? Why are you worrying? He actually kidnapped the illusory form of Sita. As soon as Ravana arrived before Sita, she disappeared. Then, just to cheat Ravana, Sita Devi sent an illusory material form. Mahaprabhu is continuing, spiritual substance is never within the jurisdiction of the material conception. This is always the verdict of the Vedas and the Puranas. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assured the Brahmana, "Have faith in my words and do not burden your mind any longer with this misconception." Although the Brahmana was fasting, he had faith in the words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and accepted food. In this way, his life was saved. He really, because Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, when God comes and tells, it is imperative if that person is soft at heart, they will fall for him. They will have to get convinced. After thus assuring the Brahmana, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded further to South India and finally arrived at Durvasana, where he bathed in the river Kritamala. Now we'll see the amazing mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At Durvasana, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Lord Sri Ramachandra, and on the hill known as Mahendra Shaila, he saw Lord Parashuram. Then later, Mahaprabhu went to Setubandha, Rameshwara, where he took his birth at the place called Dhanush Tirtha. From there, he visited the Rameshwara temple and then took rest. There, among the Brahmanas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu listened to the Kurma Puran, where it is mentioned the chaste women's narration. Srimati Sita Devi is the mother of the three worlds and the wife of Lord Ramachandra. Among chaste women, she is supreme. She is the daughter of King Janaka. When Ravana came to kidnap Mother Sita and she saw him, she took shelter of the fire god Agni. The fire god covered the body of Mother Sita, and in this way, she was protected from the hands of Ravana. Upon hearing from the Kurma Puran how Ravana had kidnapped a false form of Mother Sita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very satisfied. The fire god Agni took away the real Sita and brought her to the place of Parvati, goddess Durga. An illusory form of Mother Sita was then delivered to Ravana, and this way, Hare Krishna, and this way Ravana was cheated. After Ravana was killed by Lord Ramachandra, Sita Devi was brought before the fire and tested. When the illusory Sita was brought before the fire by Lord Ramachandra, the fire god made the illusory form disappear and delivered the real Sita to Lord Ramachandra. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the story, he was very pleased and he remembered the words of Ramadas Vipra, Hare Krishna. Now we'll see what Mahaprabhu is doing. Indeed, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these conclusive statements from the Kurma Puran, he felt great happiness. After asking the Brahmanas permission in the temple, he took the possession of the manuscript leaves of the Kurma Puran. Since the Kurma Puran was very old, the manuscript was very old. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took possession of the original leaves in order to have direct evidence. The text was copied into new leaves in order that the Purana can be replaced. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to southern Madurai, and delivered the original manuscript of the Kurma Puran to Ramadas Vipra. When he was petitioned by Mother Sita, now Mahaprabhu is reading directly from Kurma Puran, the fire god Agni brought forth an illusory form of Sita, and Ravana, who had 10 heads, kidnapped the false Sita. The original Sita then went to the abode of the fire god. When Lord Ramachandra tested the body of Sita, it was false, illusory Sita, that entered that fire. At that time, the fire god brought the original Sita from his abode and delivered her to Lord Ramachandra. Now, Ramadas Vipra was very pleased to receive the original leaf manuscript of the Kurma Puran, and he immediately fell down before the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and received and began to cry. After receiving the manuscript, the Brahmana, being very pleased, said, "Sir, you are Lord Ramachandra himself and have come in the dress of a sannyasi to give me audience. My dear sir, you have delivered me from a very unhappy condition. I request that you take your lunch at my place. Please accept this invitation. Due to my mental distress, I could not give a very nice lunch the other day. Now, by good fortune, you have come again to my home." Saying this, the Brahmana very happily cooked food and a first-class dinner was offered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed that night in the house of the Brahmana. Then after showing him mercy, the Lord started towards the Tamaraparni river in Pandya Desh. Hare Krishna. So we are seeing in this pastime that Mahaprabhu, after consoling the Brahmana, while he went to Setubandha in Rameshwar, he sees the evidence and he brings it back. Imagine if he Google and find the distance, it's almost 200 kilometers from Madurai to Rameshwaram. And Mahaprabhu walks. In those days, there is no vehicle or anything. This is the nature of Krishna. Krishna is one of the qualities of Krishna's Bhakta Vatsal. When a devotee is suffering, not due to material anxiety, but due to spiritual anxiety, Krishna is always there. And Krishna is walking all the way for so many kilometers just to give relief to his devotee. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. Paritranaya sadhunam, Krishna comes. One of the primary reasons Krishna comes is to give pleasure to his devotees. And this is the spiritual variety that we see when Krishna is there in this material world and when Krishna is there in the spiritual world. Very quickly, one more pastime of Krishna showing variety. When Krishna enters into Mathura, when Krishna and Balaram enter into Mathura, when Akrura comes, when Akrura is sent by Kamsa, because Kamsa has kind of lost all battle, because he is sending demon after demon after demon to Vrindavan, and all the demons are finished by Krishna and Balaram, Lord Balaram. And then finally, Srila Narad Muni comes and tells everything to Kamsa, that Krishna is already there in Vrindavan and you'll have to do something, otherwise he's going to kill you. So now Kamsa sends his dearmost associate Akrura, thinking that Krishna will certainly come if Akrura invites him. So he arranges the wrestling arena, wrestling match, and Kuvalayapida elephant and all those arrangements to kill Krishna as soon as Krishna and Balaram as soon as they enter into Mathura. So cutting short the story, Akrura brings Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, and Akrura, as soon as he enters into Mathura, he actually requests Krishna, please come home, because Akrura is a devotee at heart. Even though he was sent by Kamsa, Akrura is a devotee at heart, and Krishna knew that. See, Krishna sees the intent of the person, not what is offered outside. Krishna sees always the heart of the person, what is the intent of the person while we are offering. So he knew Akrura was a devotee. So Krishna said, I have so many other things to do, but I will certainly come to your home. And Krishna promises Akrura, and then he has many other things to do. So on the way to meet Kamsa, Krishna meets a washerman. This is the last pastime that I just want to read from Krishna book. Krishna and Balaram saw a washerman and a dyer of clothing. Krishna was pleased to ask him for some nice clothing. He also promised that if the washerman would deliver the nicest dyed cloth to him, the washerman would become very happy and all good fortune would be his. Krishna was not a beggar. Well, Krishna has everything. So if Krishna is asking for something from a person or a devotee, it is for that person's benefit. Nor was he in need of any clothing. But by this request, he indicated that everyone should be ready to offer Krishna whatever he wants. Prabhupada is writing. That is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. Whatever we have to offer to Krishna with devotion. Unfortunately, this washerman was a servant of Kamsa and therefore could not appreciate the demand of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the effect of bad association. He could have immediately delivered the clothing to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who promised him all good fortune, but being a servant of Kamsa, the sinful demon could not accept the offer. Instead of being pleased, he was very angry and refused the Lord's request, saying, how is it that you are asking for clothing which is meant for the king? The washerman then began to instruct Krishna and Balaram. See, this is what happens. Bad association can come in any way. So many ways in today's world. He is instructing Krishna and Balaram with so much audacity. My dear boys, in the future, don't be so impudent as to ask for the things which belong to the king. Otherwise, you'll be punished by the government men. They will arrest you and punish you, and you will be in difficulty. I have practical experience of this fact. Anyone who unlawfully wants to use the king's property is very severely punished. On hearing this, Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, became very angry at the washerman and striking him with his upper portion of his hand, he separated the man's head from his body. The washerman fell down dead on the ground. In this way, Lord Krishna confirmed the statement of the Brahma Samhita that every limb of his body is capable of doing everything he likes. Without a sword, but simply with his hand, he cut off the head of this washerman. This is the proof of Lord Krishna's omnipotence. If he wants to do something, he can do it without extraneous help. After this ghastly incident, the employees of the washerman immediately dispersed, leaving the clothing. Krishna and Balaram took possession of it and dressed according to their choice. The rest of the clothes were offered to the cowherd boys, who also used them as they desired. What they did not use remained there. So now, the reason I want to read this story is that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I forgot to share the screen, or am I sharing the screen?
You're not sharing, Prabhuji.
Huh?
It's not, we cannot see the screen, Prabhuji.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing the screen. Yeah, I was actually reading from chapter 41 and chapter 9 of the Madhya Leela of the Ramadas Vipra's pastime, and chapter 41 of Krishna meeting the washerman. The reason why uh, I want to read that story is because I heard this story from pastime from my spiritual master. This washerman in his previous life was meditating on the Supreme Lord for not 1 year, 2 years, 100 years, for millions of years and births. So that he was performing severe austerities so that one day he will get to meet Krishna. And Krishna, see, Krishna always sees what we aspire. Krishna is, whether some person is really taking up to devotion or not devotion, Krishna gives opportunity to everyone. Krishna finally gives opportunity to this yogi who's been practicing severe austerities for many Finally, Krishna comes in front of that person, and this person is looking like is a washerman in this birth. And Krishna and Balaram are standing before him, and he thinks that he is a ordinary person. And Mahaprabhu explains that because this person didn't have any devotion, he was totally averse to devotion. Even if Krishna comes right in front of us, we will not be able to recognize him. That is why Prabhupada writes that a pure devotee is never interested in this universal form. Srila Sukadeva Goswami explains about all this universal form and everything in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is because there were different kinds of people sitting in front of him and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And he had to satisfy everyone. So he's gradually taking everyone. And Maharaj Parikshit also understands his spiritual master's mood of speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, so he accordingly asked questions. So the summary of this purport that we studied from Srimad Bhagavatam is that material nature has a lot of varieties that we see around us. But that material varieties are also eventually coming from Krishna, and it is temporary. It is not false, it is real, but it is temporary. But our main focus is not reject the material energy, but utilize the material energy in the service of Krishna. Just like how Prabhupada writes that when Krishna came and asked for the cloth, the washerman could have easily just, oh Krishna, whatever you want. We will see immediately in the same chapter, Sudama. This is another Sudama who's making garlands, stringing garlands. Krishna, Balaram, and the cowherd boys come before going and meeting Kamsa. He comes and stands, and that's Sudama who's just stringing garlands. He's just captivated by Krishna's beauty, and he immediately offers all the garlands to all the cowherd boys and Krishna and Balaram. It's a simple thing that washerman could have done. But then, what was the result? Of course, Krishna killing that washerman, Prabhupada writes that he eventually got liberated, not to the spiritual world, but impersonal liberation. But the point is, spiritual variety means bhakti, not the Brahman variety. Spiritual variety means bhakti to Krishna. Similarly, we saw in the Ramadas Vipra's incident that because that Ramadas had so much bhakti, and not necessarily to the form of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan, but other incarnation of Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the avatari of all the forms of Krishna, all expansions of Krishna, he reciprocated with him. So much spiritual variety is there. So when we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to pray to Krishna that please keep us in this mood of appreciating and glorifying the varieties of his spiritual nature. I'll stop here. It's 7:45. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Prabhu.